Genius Brain listeners, this podcast is brought to you by Fitbod. The essential part of your fitness that your workout needs is Fitbod, my friends. It's a fitness app that creates completely personalized workouts that adapts as you improve. And my friends, I like this app a lot. You know, I'm on my fitness journey and I can always add things that helps me get to my goal. And look, I know a lot of you out there feels that, I don't know, the PE workouts that you did in high school are going to help you out, but you already know that having something personalized based on the place that you want to be at or where you want to go is super important. That's where Fitbod comes in. Fitbod's powerful algorithm understands your strength training ability. As you get stronger or master exercises, Fitbod adapts to push you a bit harder in your next workout, which I know we all skip out on. That's something that we need. So add Fitbod to your workout essentials. Join Fitbod today to get your personalized workout plan. Get 25% off your subscription or try the app for free at fitbod.me/genius. That's fitbod.me/genius. You don't have to harp on the negativity, right? And we call that trauma bonding. You don't have to bond with somebody through trauma because those bonds that you create through anger and hate, they don't last. The reason why they don't last is because when that other person is eliminated from the group or from your surrounding, you realize that the person that you trauma bonded with, you have nothing in common with them. The only thing that you had in common with them was your mutual hate for this one person that you two developed from going back in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Genius Brain Podcast. Look, if you're watching this on the video side, this might be very, very weird because I'm actually recording this on my phone and actually using the camera mic because it's been a very hectic few months. Store in Waikiki. If you guys don't know, which obviously if you've listened to me, you do know I own, if you guys heard of a place called Jumbi Matcha, it's a matcha concept that we started up years ago with a group of friends and we invested into it. We believed in their vision and now we have I believe a total of 7 or 8 stores right now. Hopefully next year we'll have close to 14 or 15 from what's in the what's in the bag with us. But it's been very busy. It's been hard to kind of get into the studio, set up guests, and kind of get my head right for a podcast. So for the time being, you guys have these one-on-one podcasts for now until I can get back in the studio. And I think people do appreciate it. And I mentioned it before. It's like not particularly something that I want to say. It's not that I don't enjoy this, right? It's a lot harder to do podcasts on your own because you're kind of talking to yourself like a crazy person. And, you know, subject matters, when I talk to somebody else, it tends to flow a lot better because we can kind of bounce off each other. But during the time that you guys do have me here one-on-one, I can get into very specific topics. And by specific topics, I mean stuff that you guys want to hear or talk about especially when it comes to my opinion on things. And remember, if you didn't listen to the previous solo podcast, take everything people on social media say with a grain of salt. Once again, this isn't like advice that you should live your life by because honestly, all the stuff that we say here is just from personal opinion and personal experience, right? And make sure that you add your own opinion and thoughts. And if I say something that you disagree with, that's all good. It's just pick the few things that you guys want to learn from this. Or if you don't learn anything at all, you think is absolute bullshit, it's absolutely possible, man. In the last podcast too, like I tend to read a lot of positive comments, sometimes negative ones, and that's all good. I read a couple of comments that I do want to kind of address. And there was somebody that kind of wrote something along the lines of, we were talking about a subject, and maybe I'll add the comment here. Probably won't because I don't want to shit on them publicly like that. But it had to do with basically how people listen and perceive information. One of the hardest things that I think people have trouble with is taking information for what it is without adding your personal feelings and emotion into it, right? And basically what I said was that a lot of the times when it comes to a certain type of person, when they tend to give advice to somebody when they don't know the answer to and they know that they don't have the answers, they'll just say whatever because they like the feeling of being somebody who knows what they're talking about, even though they don't know what they're talking about, right? So it comes from a bad place. It comes from them trying to feel good about being that person in your life that has this position that can give you knowledge, even though it's not knowledge they don't know about. And they'll like fuck you up just because they want to feel good about being the person that knows things. And this person wrote, well, I don't think that just because people help you, that it comes from a bad place. Hey, bitch, that's not what the fuck I said. You took all the information that I said, all the other stuff that gave context to what I said. I said a person who doesn't know anything about a certain subject that likes to tell you how to live your life or give you advice about stuff they don't know about does it for themselves. I didn't say that somebody who tries to help somebody is inherently selfish. You stupid shit. God damn it, man. Let me tell you something. The reason why I wanted to bring that comment up, because you'll see this a lot online and you'll actually see this a lot when you meet people. There are so many people who like to twist your words around. You could do the best. You could give context. You could say all these type of things and it doesn't matter, because a lot of the times what somebody does is that they'll mix their emotions with the things that are being said to them versus taking it for what it is. This person put their own personal trauma, wrote this whole diatribe about how they felt about their personal life that had nothing to do with the fuck that I'm talking about. How many times has that happened to you? Like, you could say something, you could be like, hey, I'm hungry. Oh, what, you don't give a fuck about children in the world starving? So you're just only gonna talk about your hunger? No, bitch, I just said I want a sandwich. And now you're all up in my ass, just buried in my ass, just eating shit all day. Knock it off. Person who wrote that comment, the problem with you, and I don't think you're a bad person, but I do feel that if this is how you interpret information, by the way, 30-minute podcast, and I elaborated that part, and all you heard was person give advice is bad. You are a very, very terrible person to be around. I'm not saying you're a bad person, but to be around you must be fucking exhausting, because there's nothing you could say. Because the problem with that is that for you already have an answer to something when you didn't even listen to the question. How many people have you met like that? They have an answer and a response to something that you're going to say, and they never listen to a fucking word that you said, which means you're not here for a conversation. What you're actually here for is for you to vent about your bullshit. You don't care to have a conversation, and you also don't care to have a relationship with somebody. And if conversations trigger you, then you need to reassess how you approach people, or if you want to be talking to people at all at this point, maybe take a step back. When you have a conversation with somebody, or when you're hearing things, you got to listen to what somebody says. One of the things that I probably don't like, specifically, I don't know if you guys feel this way too. You guys ever watch like online debates? And it's never a debate. It's two people screaming at each other. They were never there to listen. They were never there to have a conversation. And it just becomes this exhausting thing to watch. And a lot of people communicate like that because you're not trying to talk. You're trying to win. If you're trying to learn something from somebody and the only thing that you're trying to do is win in a conversation, it's just not going to work out. There's absolutely no point engaging in a conversation like that. So to go back to that person who wrote this, it's like, look, if you didn't listen to any of the context and that's all you took in, I gotta tell you, I have to feel sorry for the people around you, because that's who you are, essentially. Even when it's in video format, bitch, you could have rewound the whole fucking thing backwards and you could have re-listened to the whole conversation, but you only pick out the things that hurt you and then you stick on that and then you use that as a point to attack somebody. That is not somebody that you ever want to engage in a conversation with, nor do you ever want to develop a relationship with somebody like that. Could you imagine being in a romantic relationship with somebody who picks out every little thing that you said? They don't listen to the thing in its entirety, but they take out the parts that they hate the most so they could use it against you, and they kind of create their own narrative, this narrative that doesn't exist. And it happens so often. And this goes into the subject that I wanted to talk to you guys about today. So my position in my life for a lot of my friends, depending on who they are, people like to talk to me about their personal problems a lot, which for me, I'm okay, right? And I've talked about people who are assholes, who simply just ask for advice, not to listen or even care about the things that you say. They just ask because they just want to, I don't know, use you as their emotional tampon. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about people who generally come to me for advice. Not saying that everything that I say is smart, because if I can't help them, I just tell them I don't know and I'm not the right person to ask. I'm now in my mid-30s, right? By the time this podcast goes up, it was my birthday yesterday and I turned 36. Obviously I'm not old, but I've lived a fair amount of life to kind of experience certain things, and specifically when it comes to relationships. And there was a question that I received. I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's right here on the computer. But basically this person was asking, how do I know when I should break up with somebody, right? And they started listing all the things that happened, all the stuff this person said to them, and basically a lot of negative things about the other person. And here's the thing, man. Today's podcast topic is basically going to be about how you should interpret and how you should take in things that people say from an emotional point of view, right? For me, something that I used to do, or that I do in the beginning before I correct myself, is that when somebody tells me about a traumatic story that happened to them, or whether it's about relationships or something like that, I tend to immediately side with the person that tells me the story, right? Because emotionally they sound very convincing. And the only thing you could do is really take what they say and believe that it's 100% true. The problem with that is that most likely it's not. It doesn't mean that they're lying, right? When people would vent to me before, when I would kind of take everything for fact. And so let's say somebody would tell me the story about this terrible person that they're with, and they tell me all these things. And then I get excited, I get upset, I get mad. I say, you know what? You should leave them. Fuck this person. They're a terrible human being. And then later on, I hear a story from somebody else that tells a different story. And then I go, oh, maybe I was wrong. But I got emotionally involved and I made like emotional choices and decisions based on what this person told me. So when we kind of do this, like, we also forget that there's always two sides to a story. So there's two sides to the story, and the truth is somewhere in between. And let me give you a great example, right? So I know recently, or not too recent, I say it was a while ago, it was a couple months back, where two of my friends that were together for a very long time, they decided to split. Now, hearing one side of the story from somebody got me a little emotional, because it sounded like this person was in a terribly abusive relationship. And then I started getting hyped up, and I'm kind of over here in this party thinking like, oh, fuck this person. Like, and you want to shit on them as well. But then I caught myself and I realized, hold on, I didn't hear the other person's story, right? And when we met up and we had a long conversation, I didn't tell him or her that I knew the other person's story. I just wanted to hear what they had to say. And it turned out in this situation, and I'm pretty sure you guys have experienced this, is where two people told the same story, same facts, but with two different perspectives. And it's kind of crazy how things work that way, right? And what I kind of came to the conclusion with, and I didn't have to mention this because they already split, was both of them were stupid as fuck. They're two stupid fucking idiots that think that they're right. And they both told the same story with two very, very different perspectives. And what happens is, just to go back to what I was talking about, is that how they were telling their story was based not on exactly what happened, but based on how they felt. And it was seen through an emotional lens. And so when people regurgitate their stories, they can't tell it factually. Even my stories, right? Like, you'll hear stories about me where I was wrong. I'm obviously telling it through a very biased lens about how I felt as well. There are things that are factual for sure, but there's a lot of embellishments that are involved in this. And so when I heard the story between them, it was the classic case of two people who was telling the same story, but from two different perspectives. And this is not what happened, but let me just give you an example of how this can be and how maybe you guys can avoid this. It would be something like this, right? Let's say person A told me this story about, they said that, okay, let's call this guy Jim. All right. So Jim, when Jim spoke to me the other night, and the reason why we broke up is because he told me that he hates my job, he hates everything that I do, and he won't be supportive of the stuff that I'm doing right now because he said he thinks it's useless. Cool. I hear that. I take that and I go, yo, Jim's kind of a fucking asshole, so I understand why you guys broke up. And then I'll talk to Jim, and Jim says, without me knowing, or without him knowing that I know the other story, he'll say, yeah, I spoke to her and I told her that, hey, the choices that you make in your life right now, when it comes to your career, you don't know what you're doing, so don't make rash decisions. And when you make rash decisions, it's going to affect our life as a couple, so I don't think that you should do it. See, now, two different perspectives, still talking about the same conversation, but how they perceived it is based on two different lenses of emotions. And this happens so often when people tell us stories. So for us, when we listen to other people's problems, we have to keep that in mind. It's super, super important, because I'll get caught up in that shit too. I hear about Jim. It's like, yo, Jim said what to you, bitch? Jim said that your pussy smell like fucking Nook Mom? That's what Jim said? But then when Jim comes through, he said, no, man, this bitch farted in the blankets and she blew it in my face. I was like, yo, what the fuck? Two different perspectives. Now, I don't know which one is true, and it's not for us to decipher that, right? A lot of the times when it comes to our friends and when they want advice and they're just venting about shit, we have to take, like, I would say, I take 50% of it as truth and the other 50% is emotions, right? Let's wrap back to that comment that person wrote. That person, when he tells that story to somebody else about my podcast, and when we have these one-on-one conversations, he'll tell somebody, hey, this dude, David So, said that when people give advice or they try to help people, it always comes from an evil place. Somebody will listen to this and they'll misinterpret it and they'll take it and they'll spin it another way. These are the type of people that I try to avoid at all costs. Those are dogs in the background. I'm over here in Sacramento. We just drove 6 hours. These dogs are loud as fuck. Ignore them. If you can hear them, I might delete it out. But this is what happens when you interpret things through an emotional lens, right? And emotions in and of itself, they're not bad. I love feeling emotions. I like feeling sad, feeling angry. Damn, these dogs need to shut the fuck up. But I like feeling sad, I like feeling angry, and emotions in and of itself isn't a bad thing, right? And by the way, this could be another thing that you're gonna hear. Somebody might take this and they go, David said emotions are bad. No, that's not what I said, you stupid bitch. What I'm saying is that when you listen to other people talk about things that are emotionally like traumatizing, 50% of it is true and 50% is embellishment based on how they felt. And I'm pretty sure you guys have felt this too, where you felt lied on a lot of the times when people regurgitate certain stories about you, right? I'll give you a personal example of something that happened in my life, right? So there were people in my life. This is a while back. And when I tell you these stories, these are stories that happened over a period of 36 years. So it's not really that much, but there was a person who was a part of a group that I had, right? And the way this person would tell these stories, very emotional, very good storyteller. And they're basically talking shit about other people in our group. Now, when I first heard this person's stories, it sounded once again like they were being wronged. And then I took a step back and I said, hey, well, let me just hear what this other person has to say. And the other story sounded a little more convincing about what really happened. So long story short with this, this person had a boyfriend. And this boyfriend was kind of like this weird mastermind between the drama that happened between two of my friends within this group. And so the boyfriend was basically relaying information to his girlfriend about what the other person said that never actually happened. So the actual root of the problem was the boyfriend that was talking shit in between and creating shit. God knows fucking why this guy did this shit, right? I'm not really close with the motherfucker, or this is back in the day, but this guy basically was saying that when he was with his girlfriend, he would talk shit about the other friend, right? So let's say the girl's like, oh man, I'm so sick of Jenny. Jenny is so trash. And the boyfriend would kind of harp. Be like, oh, of course, yeah, dude, Jenny is such fucking shit. She's so fucking terrible, blah, 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 blah. But then on the other side, he would go talk to Jenny and be like, hey, I know bad things are happening between you and Jenny, but I know my girl, she's just like, she's fucking crazy sometimes. And I feel like you're right in this situation, even though Jenny's my girlfriend. Like, I don't really agree with her on that. But he would go back and talk to Jenny and be like, yo, she was talking shit about you. There are so many bad things that happen this way. And these two people, they were going based off their emotion when they really could have found out the problem was this one person in the middle. And basically, you know, it's a story about being very careful about how you take in information and how you listen to information, right? You never know what's going on. To take a step back and to kind of remove your personal emotions from things will save you a lot of trouble. When I was younger, I used to get fucking angry about everything. And it was just pointless because I never took a step back to kind of reassess what the fuck was actually happening. And then I get emotionally involved and then I start making mistakes that I shouldn't have made because it didn't, with business that didn't even fucking involve me, right? We get hyped, like we're so down for our friends. We're so down for things that happen that we forget that people can lie. People can misconstrue everything that you say and kind of take things for the things that you're doing and kind of fucking it up in between. And I've learned now as an adult that I literally take everything with a grain of salt. Even this happens to me where I'll listen to somebody where they're venting to me about somebody that I don't even fucking know. And then I'll eventually meet that person. And then this person will somehow talk to me and they'll be like, hey, I'm pretty sure that she said terrible things about me. And, you know, I heard that you agreed with it. And I'm just telling you right now, I'm not even that person. And I never did. People be lying on people all the time. You know what I do? And maybe you guys could kind of take this little bit of advice with you. When somebody vents to you about somebody else and you're not sure about the truth or the facts that are being said, you don't have to harp on the negativity, right? And we call that trauma bonding. You don't have to bond with somebody through trauma because those bonds that you create through anger and hate, they don't last. The reason why they don't last is because when that other person is eliminated from the group or from your surrounding, you realize that the person that you trauma bonded with, you have nothing in common with them. The only thing that you had in common with them was your mutual hate for this one person that you two developed from going back and forth with this negative cycle with one another. You just keep talking shit over and over and over, and you're hoping that this demon gets slayed. Well, guess what? When the demon is slayed, what do you guys have in common? You don't have anything in common anymore. The enemy is gone. So what do you have in common? You only had that trauma. So there wasn't really a friendship that was developed in the first place. That's why for me, when people vent to me and they start talking shit about somebody else that I don't fucking know, that I don't know the full story about, I just listen to it as a story, right? I'll say things like, damn, I'm sorry that happened to you. Damn, that sounds really fucked up. What? I can't believe that happened. And it's how I feel. But I'm not giving my 2 cents in advice about a story that I don't really know the full perspective on. And we see this happen a lot. It happened to me with my soft serve business, right? There was that guy who was a piece of shit. His name was DJ. This guy stole from the business, damn near wasted like a year of my fucking life. And there were signs that this person wasn't a good business partner to start with. And when he kind of worked with me, he realized that I wasn't somebody that he could just kind of lie to without getting checked, which caused him to kind of run away and kind of go away from me. Well, when I talked to this guy before, he told me all these stories about how he's had terrible business partners who fucked him over, didn't know why they did it. He was always the victim in his story. And the one stupid thing that I didn't put together is that how is it that out of 3 or 4 businesses that you had, everybody else was the problem but you? And it just didn't make sense. And I didn't pick up on that because I got emotionally involved in the things that he told me. So I started getting angry. I started getting upset. I was like, I will never do that to you. But it turned out he was the one that was doing it to other people. And I kind of fell for the emotional trap. So I've been there with you guys, right there with you too.
Genius Brain listeners, this podcast is brought to you by Fitbod. What workout essentials do you have? Headphones, favorite water bottle, knee brace, and etc. But guess what? The essential your workout really needs is Fitbod. It's a fitness app that creates completely personalized workouts that adapt as you improve. Whether you are a seasoned gym goer or just starting your fitness journey, Fitbod will push you to make progress. It's like having your own personal trainer, but better. It's cheaper. You can work out anywhere with or without equipment, and it's easy to build a custom fitness plan that works for you. There are so many things that I like about this app. When they approached me with this, I checked it out, and you guys know I've been on my fitness journey for a long time now. I actually used to be 300 pounds. I'm 218 pounds now. So anything that gets me closer to my end goal that I want for my fitness, I love. And what I really, really like about Fitbod is that it creates personalized workout routines on the goals that I like. And on top of that, it adapts as I improve with my workout. So it makes sure that I keep it challenging because, sometimes when I'm lazy, I just kind of be sandbagging all the time. So Fitbod makes sure that you don't do that. So you kind of get to the goals that you really, really want. It's also fine-tuned by experienced certified personal trainers. So they got you. So add Fitbod to your workout essentials. Join Fitbod today to get your personalized workout plan. Get 25% off your subscription or try the app free at fitbod.me/genius. That's fitbod.me/genius.
I think one of the things that I really do enjoy about these one-on-one podcasts is that I hope you can relate to it, because these are all the mistakes that I am currently making and that I'm trying not to make anymore. And I'm being very careful about how I tread forward from here on out. And so hopefully when you listen to this podcast, you'll understand that I'm not telling you these things to be like, oh, everybody's a piece of shit or whatever. But it's smart to kind of keep your head up and keep your game really sharp, right? It doesn't mean that you have to be doubtful about people's kindness. It doesn't mean that you have to have a negative outlook on life. I don't. Listen, I may seem like a negative motherfucker, but I'm actually very fucking positive. I have a lot of long-lasting friendships. And anybody out there, by the way, who has said, I'm not a fucking good friend, that's because I'm not your friend, you dumb bitch. I keep telling people this, right? It's amazing. Look, I get it. Your boy's a fun guy. So you hang around me, and all of a sudden you place me in your life as this amazing close friend, and I've never, ever felt that way about you, nor have I ever gave you a signal about that shit. I don't fucking care. If anybody has said I was a terrible friend, I'll tell you this. I'm never cocky about anything. I'm not a cocky person. I think I'm terrible at a lot of things. But one thing I'm really good at is being a really good friend and being an honest friend at that. So if you ever hear a story about, oh, David was my homie before and he did this to me. No, we were not homies. We were like acquaintances, and we kind of kicked it with each other. So fucking relax. I have a very, very small group of really close friends, and those are ones that matter to me the most. But hopefully you guys can take this information, or you could take the things that I'm telling you and you could apply it to your life. And once again, if not, it's okay. Sometimes we have to just make our own mistakes. And it kind of reminds me of the relationships that I had with my father and my parents. Like when I was younger, man, they gave me a lot of great advice. But at the time, because I was so young and arrogant, I just wasn't ready to receive it. And that's the kind of shitty thing about life, right? You could be given all the tools, but if you don't know what those tools are, how do you fucking use it? And that's the problem. Like when you're younger, everybody's telling you the right, not everybody, but a lot of people in your life who have your best interest involved, they can tell you the right things, but if you're not ready to receive it, it doesn't matter. Sometimes you just have to fall straight on your face. And that goes for people out there who want to give advice to your friends. You could tell them to be careful about all this stuff, especially when they're in love. How many times have you seen your friends in love with somebody that you know is absolutely terrible for them, but they don't listen because they have these rose-colored glasses on? And guess what? They have to fall on their face. They have to make their own mistakes sometimes. You could tell them all about the signs. And even when it's over, you'll be like, hey man, I gave you a couple of hints, and they'll be like, you should have told me earlier. No, motherfucker, because if I told you earlier, you wouldn't have listened and you would have hated me for it. You were madly in love with this girl. If I told you, yo, this bitch is fucking annoying, you would hate me for it because you can't see something because you're so in love. At times, just because the right advice is given, it doesn't mean that person is ready to receive it. You're the same way. I'm the same way. My wife knows this too. Sometimes when she gives me advice that I don't want to listen to, I kind of brush it off, and then it's right in front of my face when it happens, and I just can't even tell her you were right because it just pisses me off. I fucking refuse. But, she's right a lot of the times. Look, life is hard to navigate, guys. None of this stuff is easy. So once again, I'm not telling you to have a negative outlook on life, right? Sometimes I think that when people listen to these podcasts, you guys think, oh, David must have his guard up all the time. No, I just don't have my heart on my sleeve. I think the best in people. I think the best in mankind and humanity. But I have enough experiences that where I made so many mistakes, especially when it comes to relationship with people, that I'm just a little bit smarter about how I move, right? So when I meet somebody, I don't show up to them with open arms. I'm very cordial. I'm very kind, but you don't have my trust. And some of these people who are so quick to love bomb you and they tell you that, oh, we're best friends and we're besties, and they do all this other stuff, and they get surprised by your behavior, saying that, oh, this person wasn't like who I thought they were. How the fuck would you have known, bitch? You don't fucking know me, or you don't even know them. So what behavior are you expecting out of somebody that you don't actually know? You don't know me. You don't know other people. And it doesn't mean that, once again, I have a negative outlook on somebody. I have a realistic outlook. It's like, you're a cool person. We had a good time, but I don't know you yet, so I don't expect anything out of you. A lot of us tend to get disappointed in other people because we have expectations from them, expectations that they can't meet because we don't actually know them. You got to realize that. Are you that person? Are you that person that expects the world from somebody that you know nothing about? And this is how you get fucked up a lot. But let's just go right back to the topic, right? I was kind of going on a tangent. Be very careful about how you interpret information about other people when somebody only tells you one side of the story. Remember, there's two stories, two sides, and the truth lies somewhere in between. And I see this a lot. We could even wrap this around some current topics, like the whole Cat Williams situation. The whole Cat Williams situation is so funny to me. Not so much about what Cat Williams says, because Cat Williams says half truths and half lies, and nobody ever focuses on the lies. They only focus on the stuff that he says that are true, but it doesn't take away from the lies that he says. But people get caught up in their emotions, like, oh, Cat Williams calls this person out and it was true. But then if we bring up the stuff that he lied about, people don't care because they're already emotionally involved in the stuff that Cat Williams has said that they relate to, about lying, cheats, people who fuck you over. And so they want to side with Cat Williams because they believe he's the hero of the story, right? But he puts himself as this person who is the truth teller. Well, if a truth teller tells lies, I guess you're not much of a truth teller, right? Like, for example, if you listen to that interview, he said a lot of things that weren't true. He said that Earthquake can't read. The motherfucker was in the military. Of course he could fucking read. It's like, and then people will double down and back him up and saying, oh, well, that's not actually what he meant. What he meant was like this. You don't know shit. You don't know shit. And that is a great example of somebody who tells their side of the story without listening to somebody else. Like I said, there's two sides of the story and the truth lies somewhere in between. And we have to be smart about that. Well, y'all, that wraps up this episode of the Genius Brain Podcast. I know this is a weird podcast because I'm in my room in Sacramento. I just drove 6 hours, but I still have to provide a podcast. And this was actually a very good subject that I wanted to talk about. Hopefully you guys can relate to this. Next week, we'll be back in studio. I'll probably have the Eds back on. And yes, Genius Brain every Sundays at 12 p.m. Secret Society, SCRTSOCIETY, is my high-quality fashion basics brand. I know I look trashy lately because I've been farming so much, but trust me, fashion is my shit. Check out Jumbi Waikiki, out in Waikiki if you're in that area. I have a sick-ass matcha spot. 100-plus-year-old farm that we get our matcha from, stone ground. Anybody who says it's not high quality is fucking out of their mind. And you tell that to the old Japanese ladies that are fucking picking every leaf by hand. That's why our leaves are picked by hand from a 100-plus-year-old farm. I don't want to hear shit. Come check us out. Jumbi Waikiki is at the Royal Hawaiian. See you all next time. Genius Brain every Sundays at 12 p.m. Love you. Peace. Bye. Smiles.